Hi everyone, welcome to Business English Podcast. I'm Tom.
I'm Mary.
Today we're kicking off an exciting episode about learning business English efficiently, especially how to memorize new words in a smart way. This podcast will help busy professionals strengthen their vocabulary without feeling overwhelmed or lost.
Exactly. I've seen so many learners who struggle to retain new terms. They often focus on memorizing long lists instead of finding practical ways to remember and use these expressions in real contexts. It's crucial to have a plan that fits into a busy schedule.
Yes, that's the idea. Here, we'll share valuable tips, real-life examples, and best practices to help our listeners build solid vocabulary skills. We want everyone to feel confident using English at work, whether that's writing emails or speaking during meetings.
And this episode is especially useful for those who juggle multiple responsibilities every day. We'll give you a clear roadmap for building a strong lexicon, and we'll also share a few fun techniques to make learning less daunting.
That's right. In this introduction, we'll explain how the episode is organized. First, we'll dive into our main topic, discussing modern trends and why memorizing new words matters. Then, we'll offer practical tips for integrating vocabulary practice into your daily life.
Then we'll move on to an English lesson segment, where we'll break down some useful words and idioms from our discussion. Finally, we'll close with a summary and a quick reminder of how these strategies can boost your communication skills at work.
Exactly. This structure will keep things clear. By the end, you'll have concrete tools to expand your business English vocabulary. If you find this podcast helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more content on business English and communication.
All right, let's jump in. We're excited to share these insights because we know just how important it is to stay sharp in a global business environment. From corporate boardrooms to freelance gigs, strong English skills open up numerous opportunities.
Let's be honest. Memorizing new words can sometimes feel tedious. That's why we're focusing on efficient strategies today. We want learners to see real progress, not just fill their heads with random terms they barely use.
Well, I've worked with many professionals who discovered that learning in small, targeted chunks is more effective. When you immerse yourself in a few high-value terms, you can actually remember them long-term. It also gives you more confidence in client interactions.
Exactly. That's a great point. We'll talk about some techniques like spaced repetition and context-based learning. These approaches help you absorb vocabulary without relying solely on brute force memorization. It's about learning smarter, not harder.
You see, it's not just about learning words. It's about understanding how to use them effectively in business settings. We'll cover ways to practice in meetings, emails, and even during social events, so you can integrate them into real-life scenarios.
So let's outline the benefits you'll gain from this episode. First, you'll learn strategies tailored to busy schedules. Second, you'll discover techniques grounded in the latest language learning research. Finally, you'll walk away with more confidence in your speaking and writing.
Let me see. I'm also excited that we'll be referencing best practices from global companies that encourage employees to learn English. That way, you can see how large organizations support continuous skill development, which might inspire you to create your own consistent routine.
Basically, we want to give you a comprehensive approach. We're not just throwing random tips at you. Instead, we'll build a narrative that ties everything together, from why you should learn specific words to how you can practice them effectively.
All right, I think we're ready to get started. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't yet. That way, you won't miss future episodes on presentation skills, negotiation tactics, and other key business English topics.
Now, let's focus on our main topic, learning business English efficiently, especially how to memorize new words smartly. I've noticed a growing trend where multinational companies expect employees to handle complex English tasks, like writing proposals and negotiating deals.
Exactly. This trend isn't just limited to big corporations. Even small startups and mid-sized firms need people who can communicate in English with clients and partners worldwide. You see, effective English communication can be a deciding factor for business success.
And that's why building a robust vocabulary is critical. When you know the right words, you can articulate ideas clearly, persuade effectively, and avoid misunderstandings. Without it, you might struggle to convey your true intentions or interpret what's being said.
Well, there's also a cultural aspect to consider. Certain business expressions carry nuances or connotations that might differ from everyday conversation. For instance, phrasing something as a synergy opportunity might sound natural in a boardroom but awkward in casual chit-chat.
Yes, indeed. That's why it's important not only to memorize words, but also to know when and how to use them. You don't want to sound too formal in relaxed settings or too casual during formal negotiations.
By the way, let's talk about current trends. These days, there's an increasing emphasis on virtual collaboration. Remote teams rely on written communication, like emails or instant messages, which means vocabulary accuracy is more critical than ever.
Absolutely. Misinterpreting a single word in an important email can lead to confusion or even lost deals. That's why memorizing the right business terms is essential. And, with so much online content, there's a wealth of resources to help you learn.
So true. The shift to online meetings has also made spoken communication more concise. People often try to keep calls short, focusing on the most important points. In that environment, using precise words can boost your credibility and help you stand out.
Exactly. Now let's consider why memorizing these words is so vital. If your vocabulary is too limited, you might misuse words or repeat the same phrases over and over. That can make you sound less professional or even uncertain.
Well, I recall a case where someone kept saying collaboration in every sentence. The repetitive use made the speech sound unnatural. A richer vocabulary would have helped convey ideas more dynamically and avoid sounding like a broken record.
Exactly. Variety matters. Also, knowing synonyms lets you adjust your tone to fit different settings. For example, you might say negotiate in a formal context, but use talk it out in a more casual brainstorming session. It's all about flexibility.
Yes, indeed. Another trend is the increased use of business jargon, especially with rapidly evolving industries like tech. Terms like pivot, scalability, and low-hanging fruit pop up in everyday conversations. It's vital to understand them, but also to avoid overusing them.
You see, using jargon correctly can show you're in the loop, but using it incorrectly can raise eyebrows. Context matters. It's wise to learn how these buzzwords are applied in real situations, so you don't end up sounding artificial or uninformed.
Let me see, there's also a push towards plain language in some sectors. Financial companies, for instance, aim to simplify customer communications. So, ironically, while jargon is common, there's a parallel movement favoring straightforward language that appeals to a broader audience.
That's fascinating because it highlights how flexible you need to be. In some contexts, the right term is a specific piece of jargon, while in others, a clear, plain phrase works best. Knowing both styles is a huge advantage.
All right, let's move on to some best practices. One popular method is spaced repetition, which helps you review words at intervals, preventing forgetting. It's backed by science and used by language learners worldwide to lock in vocabulary over the long term.
Yes, indeed. Another approach is context-based learning. Instead of memorizing isolated words, place them in sentences or dialogues that reflect real workplace situations. That way, your brain links the vocabulary to actual usage, making it easier to recall.
Exactly. Some people keep a vocabulary journal where they note the term, its definition, and an example sentence. It's a simple but powerful strategy. When you revisit the journal, you see how the word is used, not just how it's spelled.
And let's not forget about leveraging technology. There are numerous apps that use quizzes, flashcards, and spaced repetition algorithms. These tools can automate your review schedule, so you stay consistent without manual tracking. It's a great way to stay organized.
Let me see, social media can also help. Following business news pages or joining professional groups exposes you to industry-specific terms in natural settings. It's more engaging than rote memorization and keeps you updated on market trends.
So how do we know these methods actually work? Well, research on memory supports spaced repetition, while language acquisition studies highlight the power of context. Plus, many language learners worldwide share success stories about combining these approaches for better results.
That's right. One famous case is a multinational tech firm that implemented daily flashcard quizzes for their non-native employees. After 6 months, internal surveys showed significant improvement in written reports and meeting contributions. This sort of evidence suggests consistent practice really pays off.
Exactly. We also see best practices in global consulting firms, where employees are encouraged to set measurable vocabulary goals each quarter. By tracking progress, they make sure language development remains a priority, not just an afterthought.
Setting goals can be motivating. It's like having a deadline for learning a new set of words. It creates a sense of urgency and accomplishment. Plus, it's easier to see how far you've come when you measure your achievements.
Yes, and that sense of achievement keeps you going. In the next part, we'll get more practical, sharing step-by-step advice on how to implement these memorization strategies. We want our listeners to transform theory into real action.
All right, that wraps up our discussion on the importance of learning business English vocabulary. Stick around, because we'll dive into practical tips next. You'll learn exactly how to fit smart memorization techniques into your busy routine.
Basically, it's about bridging theory and practice. We want you to walk away feeling like you can put these ideas into immediate use. And trust me, once you see the results, you'll never go back to random memorization.
Exactly. And if anyone listening has success stories or struggles with memorizing business terms, let us know in the comments. We love hearing your experiences and might feature some in future episodes. All right, let's move on to the next segment.
Yes, let's do that. Stay tuned, everyone, because we're about to share actionable insights you can start using today. All right, let's jump right into our practical tips for memorizing and mastering new business English words.
All right, let's begin the next part. We've talked about why these skills matter, so now we'll dive deeper into exactly how you can develop them. Get ready for some concrete, real-world advice on studying smarter.
All right, let's jump into practical tips for memorizing new business English words. First, identify your specific goals. If you work in finance, focus on financial terminology. If you're in marketing, center your efforts around campaign metrics, consumer insights, and so on.
You see, having a clear target makes it easier to filter relevant vocabulary. It also ensures you spend time on words you'll actually use. When you see immediate applicability, you're more likely to remember and feel motivated.
Exactly. Next, try the spaced repetition method. Write new words on flashcards or use an app that quizzes you at increasing intervals. This technique combats the forgetting curve by reviewing words right before you're likely to forget them.
Well, another handy tip is to incorporate new terms into your daily routine. Label items in your workspace with sticky notes or slip new words into emails you send to colleagues. Small actions like these reinforce what you're learning.
Yes, indeed. Also, consider making short recordings of yourself using these words in sentences. Listening to your own voice can reinforce memory. Plus, it helps you practice pronunciation, ensuring you sound natural in front of clients or coworkers.
Let me see, don't underestimate the power of context-based learning. Read relevant articles or newsletters in your industry. Highlight unfamiliar words and then research their meanings. That way, you're encountering vocabulary in a real-world scenario.
Exactly. And if you're reading business news, pay attention to words journalists use to describe market trends, financial results, or strategic moves. These are often the very terms you'll need when you talk about your own company's performance.
By the way, building a habit is crucial. Set aside a few minutes each day to review. Even if it's just 10 minutes before bed, consistency trumps cramming. Regular exposure helps lock those words in your long-term memory.
So true. Also, try to connect new words to personal experiences. If you learn the term benchmark, relate it to how you compare your quarterly sales figures with last year's data. Tying words to real examples makes them stick.
Yes, and don't shy away from mistakes. If you're unsure about a word's usage, ask a colleague or teacher. You learn faster by correcting errors early. It's better to clarify than to keep repeating a word incorrectly.
Exactly. Recording new words in a single notebook or digital folder helps too. This way, you have a one-stop reference. Whenever you need to review or refresh your memory, you know exactly where to look.
Another tip is to pair new vocabulary with visuals. Some learners find it easier to remember words if they see a relevant image. It's a simple trick, but it can significantly boost retention, especially for visual thinkers.
So, let's not forget practical usage. Try weaving fresh terms into your presentations or proposals at work. This not only cements the vocabulary in your mind, but also demonstrates professionalism and initiative to your team.
Exactly. Also, consider finding a study partner. Sharing new words in a quick chat or reviewing each other's notes creates accountability. You can quiz each other, discuss examples, and keep each other motivated over time.
Yes, indeed. Podcasts, webinars, and online workshops are perfect for hearing business English in action. Jot down new words while you listen, and then practice using them later. Hearing correct pronunciation also helps cement those terms.
I'm thinking about how repetition can happen naturally if you subscribe to industry-related newsletters. Each time the same term appears, it reinforces your memory. It's like spaced repetition, but built into your everyday reading.
Absolutely. And if you have the chance, sign up for relevant forums or Slack channels where professionals discuss industry topics. Interacting with native speakers gives you real-time feedback and shows you how words are used in actual discussions.
Let me see, journaling in English about your workday is another technique. Write a few sentences about your tasks, successes, or challenges. Then, highlight any new words or phrases you used. This self-reflection keeps the learning loop going.
Exactly. Also, try turning your learning into a game. Challenge yourself to use a new word 3 times in a day. It might feel silly at first, but it actually pushes you to find real opportunities to use that term.
Yes, and small wins keep you motivated. You can check off words you've mastered, and that sense of progress will encourage you to keep adding more to your list. It's a continuous cycle of improvement.
So, let's talk about reviewing older vocabulary. Don't abandon words you've learned last month or last year. Schedule periodic refreshers. Even successful learners can lose words if they never revisit them.
Exactly. Some people create a maintenance list of words they know but want to keep fresh. Once a week, they skim through this list or use flashcards. It's a good balance between learning new terms and retaining old ones.
Yes, indeed. Finally, remember to track your progress. Whether it's a spreadsheet or a simple to-do list, record which words you've successfully adopted. This tangible record shows how much you've accomplished and pinpoints areas needing more work.
All right, those are plenty of practical tips. Next, we'll move on to our English lesson segment, where we'll break down some expressions and words that have popped up today. Stick around if you want to reinforce what we've just discussed.
Basically, if you follow even half of these tips, you'll see improvements in your vocabulary retention. The key is consistency. Keep practicing, keep reviewing, and keep using those new words in meaningful ways.
Exactly. We're about to show you how these ideas apply to real terms you've heard during our chat. Let's jump into the English lesson and make these words crystal clear.
Now let's explore 5 words and idioms we've mentioned. We'll explain the meaning, usage, and provide quick examples. First up is benchmark. This word means a standard point of reference. In business, we often compare performance against a benchmark to gauge success.
Yes, and you can use it like this. Our sales figures this quarter surpassed last year's benchmark. It implies you're looking at a specific measure and comparing current results to that measure. It's common in finance, marketing, and operations.
Exactly. Next, let's talk about synergy. This term refers to the concept that working together can create outcomes greater than the sum of individual efforts. In a sentence, merging our teams should create synergy in product development.
Right, synergy has a very business-like feel. It's sometimes overused, so be cautious. You don't want to sound too buzzword heavy. But it's still useful for discussing collaborative benefits, especially in corporate or partnership settings.
Exactly. Now pivot. In business, pivot means changing direction or strategy, often in response to market feedback. A tech startup might pivot if their initial product isn't succeeding. For example, we decided to pivot and focus on mobile solutions.
Yes, and it's a great term for agile environments. People might say, after realizing our initial approach wasn't viable, we made a pivot to a subscription model. It suggests a quick, strategic change, not just a random shift.
That's right. Next up is the phrase, low-hanging fruit. It refers to tasks or opportunities that are easy to accomplish or exploit. For instance, let's address the low-hanging fruit first by automating simple tasks.
Exactly. It's about picking up obvious wins before tackling more complicated challenges. This idiom is common in strategy discussions, where teams look for quick ways to show progress or improve efficiency.
Yes, indeed. Our final word is scalability. This describes how well a business or system can handle growth. For example, we need to ensure our platform has scalability for sudden increases in user traffic.
Exactly. Scalability is crucial in tech, but it applies to many areas, like manufacturing processes or logistics operations. It emphasizes the capacity to expand without losing quality or efficiency.
And there you have 5 key expressions: benchmark, synergy, pivot, low-hanging fruit, and scalability. We've discussed them throughout this episode, so now you know what they mean and how to use them properly.
Right, and if anyone wants to practice these words, try writing a short paragraph that includes all 5. Using them in context is the best way to remember and understand their nuances.
So we've covered a lot today. We explained why expanding your business English vocabulary is so important in our globalized world. We also highlighted real trends, like virtual collaboration and industry-specific jargon, showing how vocabulary directly impacts credibility.
Exactly. Then we shared practical tips, spaced repetition, context-based learning, goal setting, and more. These techniques are designed to fit into busy schedules and ensure that what you learn actually sticks.
During our English lesson, we revisited 5 specific words that appeared in the conversation. We broke down their definitions and usage, giving you concrete examples. That's a great starting point for your own study routine.
Yes. I hope listeners see how each of these terms plays a unique role in business discussions. Vocabulary isn't just about sounding smart. It's about communicating effectively and building trust in professional settings.
Absolutely. We want you to walk away feeling more confident about memorizing and using new words. That confidence will help you participate more actively in meetings, write clearer emails, and ultimately advance your career.
So keep practicing, keep learning, and keep challenging yourself to grow that lexicon. If you found today's episode helpful, please give it a like and subscribe. Please self. We'd love to hear your experiences, tips, or challenges in the comments.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back soon with more episodes to help you thrive in a global business environment. Until then, stay curious, stay motivated, and remember, improving your business English is a continuous journey.